Welcome students. I'd like to introduce Wendy.
Hello.
And I'll start by asking you, Wendy, just to introduce yourself a bit more and say a bit more about yourself.
Okay, my name's Wendy Layton. I currently work at the university, but until recently worked as a health visitor on a rural caseload. And that means that I look after a number of families. Health visitors are always nurses or midwives who've gone on and done further training in public health. And that's the sort of background to our role.
Okay. So I'll just take your sheet from you,
Okay.
because I just realised I haven't got it. Could you just explain to us what the health visitor's main role is in working with children and families?
Okay. As I said, we work with a caseload of families, so it's in a particular neighbourhood usually. And what that means, we are the named case holder for that area. Any family that has children between 0 and 5 would come into our patch. Doesn't mean that we necessarily see everyone. There are statutory visits that we do. By statutory, we don't have a legal right. There are visits that are recommended under the Healthy Child Programme, which is the main policy document that we work to. And that usually consists of an antenatal visit if somebody's pregnant, a birth visit, which is done within the first 10 days of life, 6 to 8 week visit, where we look at baby, we look at mum. It's very much about mum and baby, it's not just about the child. And then it differs in areas, but usually there's another developmental review around 12 months and around 2 years. 2 years is quite a critical one because that looks at speech and language development and things. I say we're focused, obviously it's around the child and the development, but it's also very much about the family. So we usually start by doing a family health assessment. So we look at mum's needs, we talk about dad, we look at other children, we look at social factors, we talk about how long they've lived there, or do they feel safe living in that environment. So there's lots of other things that are happening. We also offer regular clinics. People think of them as baby clinics, the weighing clinic. Fantastic, because mums can come and know they're going to see somebody. And actually, yes, we'll weigh baby, but we'll often do lots of other things as well. Okay. A lot of mental health support, emotional support. We can I could refer directly to paediatricians for hearing tests, for different things as well. Okay. A lot of multi-agency work.
Yes, right, so lots of possible avenues there. And the social workers that we're aiming this video at are actually looking at a case that involves a 7-year-old boy, where there was previous health visitor involvement. So it might be useful for the students to think about, in terms of working with this case as a new family, for the social work practitioner, what the health visitor might already know about the family.
Okay, so at a child 7, there will have been a handover to school nursing. So school nursing will have, in most areas, there will be an electronic record that goes with the child. So if you can't meet or find out from the health visitor, the actual records are still available to the school nurse, which I think is useful. A health visitor may have had very minimal involvement. It depends on the situation of that child. But as a minimum, the last time that child probably will have been seen by a health visitor is between 2 and 2.5. It does vary in different areas and different practice. I used to go along to a step up to school group with my with my families at 3.5, just so that we'd got that handover and we could see what was happening. But there will have been developmental checks, so to make sure that he's meeting his milestones in terms of speech, language, fine motor, gross motor, all of those things. But there'll be a record of how he is within that family as well.
Sure. And in terms of doing an assessment with the family, if the social worker is doing an assessment with the family, what kind of information might a health visitor have?
Again, it depends on how much contact. So it could be minimal, or if there are a number of children, or sometimes it's not ever at the point of referral, but there's things that you go back for and you offer more support. So in some cases, a health visitor will know all of the relationships, current and previous, because often, as you know, there's different makeups of family. In terms of where they live, often there's a lot of interrelationships in villages and things, so you may know actually more about the wider family, the wider context, the extended family, if there's a history of any other problems that have happened. Because often health visitors once you're in that community, you start to absorb everything. So you start to I'll find out things about this family from her down the road. I wouldn't necessarily take it as written. Obviously, a lot of it's anecdotal and gossip, but there's lots of relationships and lots of information that you can follow up on from that.
So the information you have wouldn't just be about the child, but potentially might be about parents as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And parental relationships with other people often, and siblings, older siblings that have moved on as well.
Thank you.
Okay.